Alright guys, welcome back to Small Talk presented by Den of Truth. Now, today we have a very special guest. If you live in Sydney or if you ever visited Sydney, you might have come across his establishments, whether it be a bar, whether it be a restaurant, cafe, or just one of the clubs. He is the man that has shaped Sydney culture and Sydney nightlife and has facilitated your night outs and your weekends. Today we have Howin Chui. How you doing, man?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming on now. Now, Howin, I kind of kept the introduction very vague because, I want to hear from your own words. But,
Yeah.
I mean, can you tell us, who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So I've been a nightclub promoter for 12 years, I think. Yeah, 12 years. Work with Urban Agent. We run a few big name nightclubs. One of them is obviously Marquee, which recently closed down. Our event's called OPM. We also have Embassy as well. Before at Zeta Bar, but we've got a new venue, so that's my nightclub stuff. And during COVID, just before COVID, 2019, I opened a cafe called Kowloon Café. Very lucky, we survived through COVID, and because of the survival game, we adapted to the new whole COVID culture, I guess, and how business is run. And very luckily, we had a good team and amazing landlords that has approached me, and we just expanded during COVID, and it was an amazing time as well for us to actually learn a lot of things because we didn't actually work. Everyone had their playbook working non-COVID, right? So we were just pivoting every day from doing our restaurant business, and then we started our kind of delivery thing ourselves, and then and then we survived for the first COVID, and then I opened Ni Hao Bar after the second, just before the second wave, 2020 November. That's when we also had a grey area during that time because bars and restaurants had a grey area, and all nightclubs were closed. And during that time, we had a grey area where you can not dance, but because we're a restaurant, you can actually sit down and drink and eat. And we had a better license than everyone else, so that was a little grey area for us to survive.
Yeah.
And then after the second lockdown, we kind of knew how to run the business game, I guess. And then we expanded to another few, 3 different business opportunities. So I expanded to Kowloon Café to Burwood, which opened in 2022. 2022 Feb. And then after that, obviously, Australia has forgotten the word COVID, and we've became a normal country again. So there was a lot of opportunities. So we just kept on taking opportunities to different places, and I've got really good partners. So for the next 6 months, I'll be opening another 3 restaurants. And one of the partners that I have on board is Kojima. He's executive chef for Sokyo. He opened 4 Nobus. He's one of the top chefs in Australia, and really happy that he actually got me to join his Senpai crew, which is a Senpai Ramen, we're expanding to Burwood, and we're also opening a very, very crazy restaurant in March. And I also have my Kowloon Café coming up in Eastwood, hopefully opening in December, January. But for the next few weeks, I've got 2 new nightclubs opening. There's a new nightclub called TenX, which will be at Noah, at Oxford Street. And also we've got another reopening of Embassy, which will be at Art House. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Howin, it sounds like, man, there's a lot to keep up with, man. It sounds like you're doing a whole bunch of things, and it shows the testament of your work and your experience, so far in the game, right? So, and look, you mentioned a good point. I think business continuity plans is very important during the time of COVID, right? Like we see a lot of businesses who just didn't pivot, they didn't adjust, and unfortunately they closed down a lot in hospitality, and it's good to see how you guys kind of readjusted and pivoted to survive through that time as well. And it's even come to the point where you guys are expanding now. So we'll definitely touch down into how to do that, and also a little bit more around each of those ventures. But before we even get there, I mean, we'd love to understand you more as a person, right? So I mean, hospitality is your thing. Like everything around you has revolved around hospitality, but tell us about your upbringing and the experiences that shaped who you are today and where you are now.
I was originally from Hong Kong. I was really funny. I was born in America. I was born in America in a little town called Idaho. And then my parents went back to Hong Kong. My dad, and then they gave birth to my brother. And then I think around 4 years old, we came to Sydney. And we were going back to Hong Kong every year, like 3 or 4 times, because my grandparents, and then we started adapting. So around 7 years old, we didn't go back. And then I started missing the life of Hong Kong. So I think during that time, my parents had nothing to do. So they came here thinking of opening businesses. And the first few years, they were just babysitting us because during the times in Hong Kong, they didn't even actually have time to babysit us at all.
Yeah.
We were living with our grandparents. So they became real parents, and I think they got bored. So they opened a restaurant in Hurstville. It was the first Chinese restaurant in Hurstville called Tang Dynasty. We're doing really well. So the Yum Cha and all that seafood restaurant at night. At the beginning, it was 150 seats, and then we took next door and it expanded to 300 seats. And after that, everything around Hurstville started building. So we were the first Chinese restaurant in Hurstville, and then there's Beverly Hills and all that. Everything started growing. And obviously during that time, supply was not great, but then supply came, and obviously my dad's like, oh, okay, it's too much work. And he told me never go to F&B, but I don't know what happened. I still went into F&B after many, many years. But yeah, after that, he started doing real estate. And during that time, I'm like, oh, I never want to do stuff that they're doing. So I've always wanted to do events because when I was young, I love partying. So I guess that's one of the things. It's a passion, I guess.
Yeah.
I think the first event that I made money was when I was 16. You know how there was like semi-formals and formals and all that, right?
Yeah, everybody dresses
and
up.
that was
Yeah.
when year 12s, but I started doing it in year 10 when we still had a formal during year 10 or something, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly. And there was nowhere to go after. So I met this guy that goes, oh, okay, I'm a DJ. And he goes, why don't you get all these, because I went to Trinity Grammar, it's a private school, so when they have dances, there's only a few schools, and they just wanted to find a promoter kind of thing to get all these people to pay, and they grouped some people, but I like, okay, let me do it. So, yeah, the first event we did was at a boat, and there was obviously no alcohol, but yeah, it was pretty expensive during that time. But that was the first time I made money through events, and that was year 10. And then I made my after party for the year 12 formal as well, and then I started going partying until I started going to an event where they saw me bringing people every week, and then one of my old boss spoke to me and go, hey, why don't you come work for us? Start working, and then because it's really funny for me, when I talk to my Asian, FOB friends, they think that I'm too ABC, which is Australian born Chinese, right?
Yeah.
And then when I talk to my ABC friends, they think I'm too FOB because I listen to Chinese music and all that. So I was always in between. So, and then when I do parties, people are like, okay, you bring that crowd here and you bring that crowd here. But then there was a balance. At the end of the day, we were all Asian, so they're okay with people going there.
Yeah.
Because when you go to a party with not that many Asian people, they just feel awkward and they leave. Obviously, that's just an Asian mentality. They go feel safer, I guess.
Yeah.
When you go to a party where they have more familiar faces. So that's when we started doing our Asian branded nightclubs, and it just got bigger and bigger.
Interesting. So that's very interesting. How like ABC, and then also some people think you're too much. This for, but it's a conflicting thing. But that kind of played to your benefit, where you're kind of attracted to both crowds, right? Because
Exactly.
and that kind of snowballed into And when you mentioned working for your previous boss, that was urban. Is that urban
It's
agent?
still urban
You
agent,
mentioned?
yeah. So it's
Urban
just
agent.
different people in there. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And it's also funny how you said, so you basically sorted the after parties
During high
during year
school,
10 and year
yeah.
12 as well. So you
But
were
that
like
was
making
just
money.
something random. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
There was just a coincidence that the DJ found. We were just talking, and then he was like, "Oh, why don't you do something?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then he found out that I had the pulling power for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know, because I think because I was in the school since year 3 all the way to year 12, so I know everyone there.
Yeah.
Because obviously in high school you don't meet everyone, but obviously because I've been there since day one, so yeah.
So was it just after moving away from school and also now working with Urban Agent, where you started doing events, right? Was it basically tapping into your current just peers in school, or it kind of like spread it across
I think
different
it
schools as
expanded
well?
during my circle expanded during what's it called, uni.
Right.
So I didn't have good grades, so I went into normal uni first, and then I wanted to do a better course, and I went to SIBT, which is a paid for degree,
Yeah.
and that's when all the overseas students are there.
Right.
And these students don't know anything and don't know anyone, where to go, where to party. So it just gradually goes, oh, this guy knows where to go. And then the group built bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and people just like, okay, cool, when I want to go out, I'm going to find him.
Yeah.
And then I started doing karaoke parties. It's funny. We'll just go, hey, you guys want to come? And then, yeah, come. And then it's just got bigger and bigger. And then what I did, one of my friends goes, why don't you just book this room for like 6 months, the biggest room in the karaoke joint, and then you just charge people. And then he's like, oh, okay. I go, you go and ask, because I can be the face of it. And he started collecting money.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to pay to go party. We made some money. And it was on a weekly basis. So we were like, okay, this is pretty cool.
How much were you charging a ticket for like per person?
We were drinking really crap stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you were doing like those old red wine tubs, and then you put it with lemonade.
Yeah.
And you bring it yourself. So we're charging like $35, $50, and we're like probably making $10 or $15 per head. And there was like 50 people there.
Oh wow.
So on top of being able to party, we probably make $500 a week.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. At a young age as well. That's ridiculous.
Well, he was the one that thought of it. I was the one just rolling with it. But my thing wasn't really the money, because I just wanted to party and not have to pay. So yeah.
I mean, like we always talk to different entrepreneurs and different people, and it's always the core thing that they kind of tell you is don't focus on money. To tell you, work backwards from your identity and your values and your interests.
Oh yeah, my
And then-
passion's partying.
Yeah,
So.
it's funny how that's kind of
Yeah,
translates
that's
to that.
where it transformed into that part. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And now that you kind of move into Urban Agent, was OPM the first gig for you for Urban Agent? Or
No,
what
actually,
was
when
it?
I went in there, we did a brand new night called Shanghai Nights, and it was a Brooklyn hotel. I had zero knowledge about event management and clubbing. So basically, I sat there. They're already a really big company by then, because they were doing so many big events, and I just sat there and go, well, what do I do? And then they said, what you have to do is actually just get people through the door. I'm like, okay, cool. So what do? Hand flyers out. Luckily, during that time, Facebook started.
Yeah.
So social media. But the most important part is just word of mouth. So I just sat there sending people the poster, and they go, what are you doing there? Oh, it's my party now. Come. Oh, okay, you're doing parties. And then we just went to every shop and gave them a poster, gave them a free ticket. And then suburb by suburb, we hit the Asian suburbs, friends of friends and blah, 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 and obviously uni groups. And that night, we had around 2,500 people there at the grand opening. It was one of the biggest grand openings we've ever seen. and it was a pretty shit venue. It's an old, drained down venue,
Yeah.
but it went well. So actually, going back to the old school ways work, because at the end of the day, everything is about people, right? So if you know that guy, you'll go there. If you know that guy that's a car dealer, you go and buy a car from him, right? It's just all about relationships. So I was a familiar face that everyone kind of knew. And I'm like, okay, this guy's got a new party. And that's it. I think that's what, yeah. And then we just, to be honest, promoter is the easiest thing in a way. You just have to gather everything through experience. So every day it's pivoting. Okay, it's raining. What are we going to do? Fuck, we're going to lose 200 people. So let's see who are the ones that are 100% coming out. Let's make sure they come through. Stuff like that. So it's a day-to-day learning curve.
Yeah, nice.
So I think after my first year, then I kind of adapt and understand. And to be honest, at the end of the day, it's personal branding. They know that you know a lot of people. Okay, cool. I know the guy that I should find. Because at the end of the day, party, you go to a party, you go to a nightclub, you just want to have fun. So you don't want to make it too corporate or too conservative or whatever it is, you know, like, yeah, people organize it really properly, and I was like, wow. Like we have a customer that whenever he books a table, he will tell people what time to meet at the hotel for pre-party, what time we're getting in, and what time, which line, and he even circles everything. I'm like, wow, you're so organized. I'm like, if I was a promoter like that, I'll be pretty good, because he's so organized. Every time he's there, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, awesome, man. And so Shanghai Nights was the first
Proper nightclub.
Nightclub, and that was Facebook would have started what 2007,
2012. 2011, 12. Yeah.
11. Okay.
2011, 12. Yeah.
Right, and then and OPM, I think that was like what 2013.
2013. Yeah.
Right. So Shanghai Nights was like you guys just regularly did it, and it snowballed into.
We did
OPM.
1 year Shanghai Nights, and then 1 year Vola. Vola is the event is held at my current Ni Hao Bar.
Oh, right.
So it used to be a nightclub, and now it's my restaurant. So restaurant bar.
Funny how things just turn around. So.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like when we got the venue back, I'm like, oh, okay, deja vu.
So tell us about OPM, like, because you know that's a flagship where like, I mean, I graduated when I was like 2015, right? So during that time, OPM was such a big thing. Where like, you know, if you have Asian friends, everyone's going to OPM on a Friday. You know, everyone's going to go. Yeah, tell us like like you know you did Shanghai Nights and you did Vola, and then it kind of rolled into OPM. I guess the question is, where do you even start when it comes to organizing like an event like that or a club? Like, because you got logistics to handle, you got a venue to source out, now you got DJs.
Oh, we've got a big team. Like, obviously, sorting out the venue is the first one. Marquee being such a big brand, believing in an Asian promoter is very hard as well, because they've never given any promoters a night, especially a Friday night. I don't think they've ever done it. But obviously Australia being a multicultural country, it's a very, very different playbook for them, because they used to run, like New York and all that, they run their own nights every night. They've got the in-house promoters, they've got everything in-house. They don't need external promoters. I think database is one, but to be honest, it is about connecting with people and knowing the right people and all that. And yeah, it just gradually built. You're like, my phone numbers, it's got 8,000 people now. So I came with 2,500 when I started working. And like these few years, like every week we meet like 100 people. But it's just that you want to put their number in and you remember them. Yeah, I think that's a really important part. People, connections with people, relationships with people. Because once you get to a point, you just don't want to talk to people. And sometimes people go, hey, do you remember me? I'm like, how do I remember you when I'm half drunk already, you know? Because every time we see each other in the club, and it's pretty dark as well. So that's why when you get the number, you put this guy name, da da da. And I even sometimes put their shirt, and I go, they wear this shirt or whatever. How we met, like, yeah, it's really funny. I have long ass names.
You guys associate the situation, how you've
Yeah,
met
and like
yeah.
I roll it nice now. Like if I don't remember your name, I'll go, hey, I'll introduce you my partner or colleague. And then he'll say his name, and I'll go, okay, cool, that's your name. Because
Yeah.
it's really embarrassing when someone, you know that he's important, but you forgot his name. So that's how I roll with making sure that I'll get the name. Because at the end of the day, people feel special when you remember their name, and they remember your name. But the thing is, they remember one name. We have to remember 100 names, you know? That's the differences. So even for me, like some of the staff at Marquee, I don't even remember the names.
Yeah.
But when I see their face, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's you. But yeah, it's so hard, like especially getting old.
And and you know, it's funny how you mentioned like because when I look at people who run events and people who are on the floor as well, because you know, when you see someone who's organizing an event, they have to be on the ground as well, obviously to make sure that things are going well, logistics are right, people are doing their jobs, and also it's just ensuring things are running smoothly on that night. Running clubs, now maybe there's a misconception that we have, but you know, how does that affect you on a nightly basis? Do you have to drink? Do you have to party with these people? Do you have to socialize?
I don't
what's
think
your
you
night
have to
look like?
drink, but I just drink. Because if you, I think I can count. I don't have less than 20 nights that I haven't drank there.
Right.
Because it's a really long night if you don't drink, and just being there. And I think gradually my role turned into like a PR person. So I'm the party person that you find it's fun, blah blah. And as I said, one of the reasons why you do something well is because you work at your job well is because you don't think it's your job. And that was something that I enjoyed. Like, I get excited every Friday. Like, what am I going to wear? Shit, I need to get a haircut or blah, blah, blah. Or, yeah, everything's organised. Oh, okay, cool. Are we going to have an after party? Are we going to book a hotel? Or is it someone's birthday? Blah. We're pretty organised with that. So I get excited every Friday. And having to drink, obviously, actually, it just makes things better. But I hate drinking, to be honest. I only drink at nightclubs. I will not drink at a dinner table.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all my friends are like, hey, you drink with all these random people, you never drink with me. I go, I don't like to drink during dinner because I get drunk really easily.
Yeah.
But for some reason, at a club, I can actually sustain because maybe I sweat or walk around. But during dinners, I can't drink. I start sleeping.
Yeah. So do you think it's important to be present at the clubs then? Like
It is
your
very,
face
very
has to be there,
important.
right?
People come for you. People come for you. People come to see you. Even though you don't give them the VIP treatment, they still want to know someone there, you know? And yeah, as I said, clubbing is a people's game. You need to be there. Like, that's why all these promoters that I know, even the older ones from last generation, once a month they'll be there. Once a month they'll be there. Because you need to be in the game for people to see it. Or else people are like, okay, cool, you're outdated, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. And also, it's like, yeah, you guys associate a face to a brand as well, right? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and it's our only time that I can go party. It's my chance to go out.
Fair enough, man. And so running, promoting OPM, was that the same kind of tactics you guys kind of did with social media, posting to different people, posters as well? Did you change things up?
Well, once the algorithm changed, it's all paid ads.
All right.
But it's all about content as well. You have to create content. I think I'm not a textbook person. I'm more of a numbers and do it right now person. So sometimes when I have new staff that learn a proper degree about marketing, they will go, nah, this is not good for the branding. But for me, I see it as, do we get the result? So how do you get the result? For me, it's like, number one, you need to create good content to capture people's eyes. You can't always have a stupid flyer and people will walk through the door, right? So you need to know what your clientele wants, what your market wants. Okay, cool. If you're talking to a bunch of guys, you tell them there's heaps of girls. If you talk to a bunch of girls, you tell them there's a heaps of high rollers. You need to see your target market. You don't sell the same thing to the same person.
Right.
And you're selling it to, like, we do different nights. For example, I do K-pop nights. Then I can get some Koreans coming, or K-pop lovers. And then we'll do different student nights, and the theme will actually attract people that non-clubbers will actually come. And how do you make sure these non-clubbers come back to have a good time?
Yeah.
So, and at the beginning, we have been, what do you call it, focusing too much on the tables, because that's when the big money comes through.
Yeah.
But after COVID, we know that, hey, that's not the case anymore. The GA is more important. The people, because number one, you need people. A club needs to be filled. Doesn't matter if it's a shit club or whatever, it needs to be filled. Because if you go to an empty club, you'll be bored.
Yeah.
And then secondly, obviously, at the end of the day, you can say whatever it is. Nightclub has to be filled with girls. So you need to make sure these girls are looked after. And you need to make sure everyone's happy, not just your VIPs, because you can't have these VIPs here every week spending 10K. There's no more of these games anymore, because after COVID, it just went boom and boom, you know.
No, fair enough. And I mean, as much as you enjoy the club, as much as you enjoy being out there, because it's your thing as well, right? You enjoy. And you're right. Like when you feel like it's not your job, when you're just having fun, that's the best part of doing something that you're passionate about and your purpose. But the other side of it is maybe there is. Were there any challenges that you had to deal with on a typical night, or what's the craziest thing you've seen?
Yeah, of course. Luckily, in Marquette, there's less fights.
Yeah.
We used to have bollards flying over our heads. Used to have big fights, and then sometimes you have two groups of real friends that fight, and then you're like, whose side are you going to help? How are you going to how do you calm down situation? Like, to be honest, it's really cool, because now that we've done this, there's a lot more situation that when we look at people are like, why are you so calm? I've seen it before. Because if someone gets punched and then someone's bleeding, I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? Everyone panics, right? But luckily in Marquee, I didn't have to deal with that anymore. But other clubs, yes, we have to deal with fights. That's some crazy things that we have to deal with. Obviously, we don't have to deal with much of police and all that anymore, because the venue deals with it. But yeah, it's just the most important part when we open doors is the panic is, are we going to be packed tonight? And once you open the door, you can't control it. By 10:30, what are you going to do? Post another poster and this guy's going to walk in? No. So it's all about what you've done the previous week before. And you have to look out for a lot of things, especially in the nightclub industry. It's pretty disgusting when there's a kind of a war thing, like, it's just disgusting. Like, people do stupid things. Oh, I can't let this DJ play here. It's like, that's why when I move to restaurants, I feel like I don't have that stress anymore. Because if my friends went to another club, I'll send them a message. I go, hey, heard you over there, huh? And then they'll send a message, come on, I came last week. And then you'll kind of have a broken relationship.
Right.
And then next time they come, and you go, okay, I thought you were going to go there. But they're coming back to support you. So I kind of not play that game anymore, because it's just stupid. You'll break your own relationship because of that. People go to a venue or a club because they enjoy the environment, or they have a particular place, like a birthday or an event to go to. So now I don't use that game and force people to go. Just be neutral. Do whatever you can to make sure people coming through the door has the best experience, and they'll come back. You can't change everyone's view on a particular. It's an event, man. Like, at the end of the day, you get drunk, go back home and sleep. You forgot about it. So you have to start again next week. But every week it's like a little big challenge to get more people through the door. So that's one of the biggest challenges. Is getting more people through the door and keeping it consistent. It's very, 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 very hard, because you might have new promoters coming up, and then you've got these festivals coming up. Now people rather go to festivals than go to a nightclub, because you can go to a nightclub every week. But festival, they'll actually save money, organise, even flying to Melbourne, they'll organise everything as a whole trip. It's an experience as a group, right? So people like that stuff more than, I think that's the biggest headache for us is to actually getting a night filled with people. Yeah.
Just getting a night filled with people. And you mentioned, I assume you're just talking about competition and everyone's trying to.
Oh,
undermine each
everyone
other.
from back in the days that what happened when it started. I've heard a lot of stories.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's why I said this industry is just really hard. It's so stressed. People don't see it. People only see you at the club and go, "Oh yeah, this guy's getting drunk again. Look at him." But he doesn't know. People don't know what you've done to make the 1,000 people come through the door. How do they walk through the door? Because they've seen this photo, they've seen these videos made, because someone has spoken to them, a promoter has spoken to them, a birthday host has spoken to them through cold calling, or whatever it is. People just don't see what work has been done. But yeah, that's why I said but when you open doors, you can't control anything. So that's when it's game day.
It's just preparation beforehand, and that's it.
Yeah. And obviously, as I said, the consistency. Once you finish a night, you come back again and have to do the whole weeks of work again. Sometimes we were like, "Oh, what are you doing on the couch? Just playing with your phone." I'm like, "Man, I'm looking at things. I'm talking to people." Yeah.
No, that's it's interesting, right? Because I also see and maybe I'm wrong here, Howin, but I see on some nights where some promoters some girls will be out on the street in Sydney and they're like giving out free tickets.
Yeah.
Is that a sign of ill preparation then, or what's that?
Nah, it is a sign of weakness, but it's also sometimes you can, to be honest, as I said, there's social media that can get to people. There's word of mouth that can get to people, but some people just live in their little world. They might not even know who you are. So having that exposure is very important, and street promoting is 101. When we had no phones, nothing, that worked. So it doesn't matter what year we are. Handing out a flyer will work somehow in some form, and depending on what you're giving them. If it's a free ticket, a free drink, whatever it is. So it works. It's a 101 based thing, Everyone needs to do that. But people are just lazy. We got lazy because we were just dominating. And we're like, nah, we don't need that. Save some money.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just got lucky. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, I mean, OPM, and then you guys snowboard into one venture to another. Where now you're talking about Ni Hao Bar, and now you're talking about Kowloon Café, and now you're opening 3 locations. I guess the question is then, as it seems to me you're a serial entrepreneur, obviously in the hospitality industry. What was some of the mistakes and lessons you learnt along the way, and how did you apply them to the next ventures that you're opening up?
One thing I learned is don't get emotional. If you get too emotional, you just business is business. And when you finish work, you go home. I just don't talk about it sometimes, and you just shut it off. Then you don't have to think about it. If you go too emotional, you sleep with it, and people just get anxieties, they get stress, and they just make stupid decisions. And I just my way is I love to live a happy life. I'm a really happy person, and so every time when my parents are like, you don't seem like you have stress. I'm like, I just don't want to have stress. And I don't think about it. If something bad happens, I'll do something to make myself happy, which hopefully one day is exercise. But it's bad. It's going to a nice restaurant, buying something, or just doing something that I like, and then I just don't forget about the stress. That's why I said, don't go emotional. That's really important. I love to have a big team. So building trust in relationship, because at the end of the day, you can't work everything yourself. No one can. So these 2 things might be something.
Yeah. Okay. So don't get emotional, and having a good team, and having a strong team around you. It seems you know, I guess, is that how you kind of approach, you approach scaling that way, right? Where was it the same people you kind of leveraged then to do Ni Hao Bar and
That's
Kowloon
why you
Cafe,
have to have a
or
balance. Having a strong team doesn't mean having a good team and same vision. You can have really strong people that you hire, but their vision's not the same. But having loyal people, but building them to a strong team, that's when the best part is. Because I have a few people that I'm working with for the last 10 years. They weren't the ones we picked, but they're the ones that stayed.
right?
So that's more important because I can give them my wallet, and then comes back with $5 more. But if I give it to someone that I don't trust, I might lose my whole wallet, all the money inside. So having loyalty is better than having a really crazy strong team, but you can't trust them. Because we've been hiring people lately, and we found out that yes, this person is an expert in this particular thing, but we don't even have the same vision. But when I talk to the team that I have that's been together for more than 10 years, I clicked, and he knows what I'm doing. If I change my face, he knows that okay, cool. I don't like that. So we're on the same page. But yeah, that's why I said a loyal team is more important than a strong team, because you can build someone to be a stronger person and build their talent more. But having a great talent but no loyalty, I don't think I like that anymore.
Right.
We tried it and it doesn't work for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So someone who's loyal and shares
It's
the same
more
vision as
important
you.
than someone that's smart, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess, Ni Hao Bar and Kowloon Cafe. Let's talk more about that, and we'll get to the COVID bit, right? Because that's interesting how we talk about pivoting. But how'd you even? Ni Hao Bar was first, right? Or
No,
was it
Kowloon Café was first.
Kowloon Cafe was first. What kind of spurred the inspiration for you to open up Kowloon Cafe, and how did you even get started? Because club is one thing, but then you obviously got the people, the clientele, but then opening a restaurant is a whole different logistical beast here. Like, how did you even get started?
Do you believe in law of attraction?
I do believe in law of attraction.
So yeah, I think I kind of knew about it a little bit, and then that book Secret came out, but I didn't finish reading it because I watched the movie instead. And then I watched it a few times, and I even listened to it. And then I started having all these ideas that I wanted to do. I wanted to open nightclubs. That was way before I had proper nightclubs. I want to open Kowloon Cafe, this restaurant. It's a Hong Kong cafe. And I want to open a bar. And yeah, and then I started talking about it every day. I started talking to a lot of people. I go, would this work? Would this work? It was really funny. There was a few of us, good friends, went back to a wedding, and we got back. We were drunk that night, and they were like, I pitched that to them. They're like, yeah, it will work. Because, number one, Hong Kong, China, after China has been shining, Hong Kong culture has been the underdog. I don't know if you guys know, when you go to any Chinatown, the food that you're eating is Cantonese food.
Right.
It's not Chinese food. Because Chinese food, there's so many different Chinese food, but it's all more Cantonese because Cantonese and Hong Kong people were allowed to migrate to other countries earlier than people from China before. So any Chinatown you go to, it's Cantonese taste. And Hong Kong Cafe has always been part of my life because when I go back to Hong Kong, I eat it straight away. And in Sydney, that Hong Kong culture and our Cantonese food culture has been flooded by either bubble tea, fried chicken, all these new stuff, and hot pots. And all these Cantonese restaurants have been dying down, and especially Hong Kong cafes. So one of the biggest Hong Kong cafe in Sydney that has been there for 30 years, we heard news that they were shutting down. And then it was just coincident. A good friend of mine, he's an architect and my interior designer. He found a spot, and we were talking about this project when we were overseas, and we got back and we're like, "Hey, let's do it." And then one of my partners is fit out company. He has a fit-out company. The other one does operation, and I've got one more partner. He's just overseas. He's an investor, I guess. And we were like, okay, let's do it. And then got the contract, and then signed the lease. And it was like, boom, wow. We didn't even calculate how much was it to start the business. And we just signed everything. And then it was like, okay, the show must go on. So we started going this. None of us really did F&B. And then I was really lucky that I had another friend that was a chef. He came over and helped us started this whole thing. And it was fun because all of us are good friends. And we built this cafe called Kowloon Café in Chinatown. And during that time, that Hong Kong cafe in Chinatown was closing. So there was a leverage where people were like, oh, there's no more Hong Kong food. Oh, there's a new Hong Kong food coming. And then I started using what I've learned from my nightclub marketing to build a hype for it. And everyone's like, Howin, you always post stuff that you shouldn't be posting so early. I'm like, don't worry, mate. Just do what I'm doing. Trust me. So I kept posting stuff. And there was so much anticipation towards Kowloon Cafe. I did all this sneak peek stuff. I showed the people here this, that, that. And before we opened, we had so many views on our website, a few thousand followers on Instagram, and people just asking every day, when are you guys opening? And then in 2019, November, we opened. Boom. We just went crazy. The first day we had to shut down straight away because we were so unorganized. So you know how Hong Kong Cafe, you can eat instant noodle, which is like 2-minute noodle. Yeah. My first Google review was, came here for a 2-minute noodle. It took me two and a half hours. So we're like, wow. And then we still had people coming. And then we go, stop. Let's stop right now. We sat down and go, what do we have to do? Cool. Make sure the front of house is a little bit more manageable. How's the kitchen going? Okay, cool. We can do this and do this and do this and do this. Cool. So we sat down that night straight away because the first night we opened early, and the first 2 hours there's no one there. After 12 o'clock, it was like 100 or 200 people there, and our restaurant can only fit 80 people. So, and people came. Hong Kong Cafe is fast casual food. It's casual dining. So if you go to Hong Kong, you order something, it comes in 2 minutes. It took 2 hours. So that was stressful. But that was not my part because I brought the people there. So, okay, you guys run the operation in the kitchen. You guys should, yeah. So we started thinking of different ways. Parents came in, helped me a little bit. My fiance was like, okay, cool. Everyone was stressed, shouting at each other. I'm like, shut up. Okay. The first thing we ever did is we made people come through the door. We've got the customer. Now we have to make the experience of the food good. So let's think of what we're going to do. Okay, cool. We shut down for 2 days. We started thinking about the system from ordering. After that, what's going to happen? Da-da-da-da. So everything was documented. And then we just, built that little operation system, getting more organized. Cool. And then we hired 2 more chefs. And rock and roll went crazy. All the way till every day it was like crazy. We have never seen a restaurant in Chinatown that it's eating cheap casual food that people waiting. It's like people waiting for Macca's, which is great. We were like so happy. We were like over the moon. And then obviously we always have challenges. And we had the biggest day. It was Chinese New Year Eve. And they had the biggest festival ever in Chinatown. They blocked off the whole Haymarket. So dragon dance, lion dance, everything. And I had to call my other partner, which he was in Malaysia during that time. I'm like, you're a dickhead. You know how busy we were and you left us. And then we were like, but we was happy. And then bang, the next day, COVID. We heard flies. We heard birds. The whole street was so quiet and we shut our pants. So that was COVID. And then very luckily, we have made a pretty big name during those 3 months, and people still want to try us. So then, first thing we did was sign up to Uber Eats, Panda, Easy, all those Chinese apps, and we started having delivery apps because we couldn't do delivery apps. We were so busy, we couldn't do it. And then we started doing that. But then we found out that number one, they take 30% off your money.
Yeah.
So we get taxed double time. Basically, we're working for everyone.
People forget that these apps, like they charge you
Yeah.
a bag.
They charge you 30%. Charge us 30%. And there's a setup fee, blah, blah, blah. And then they only have 5K that they can deliver.
Right.
And during that time, Chinatown got hit by COVID the most, because it was brought here by Chinese. Anyway, let's not talk about that. But everyone started not living around CBD, and even for myself, I was living in China city. I moved back to where my parents were because it was a bigger house, and the suburbs are growing, right? So then we started doing. We were like, why don't we deliver it ourselves? And we found out a few things before we did that. We asked people, people were asking, hey, are you guys open? Are you guys doing deliveries? And then we adapt to seeing there's an app called WeChat where people actually do a lot of delivery stuff. We've learned from them. And then we found out there's one big thing that people didn't want, was the delivery fee. So we were like, okay, if I pay a driver $250 or whatever it is a day, I need to cover that. I need to have a lot more orders. So we were like, let's play with this. Monday, we'll go north. Tuesday, we'll go south. And we started advertising free delivery. And first day, we had 5 orders. We're like, that makes sense. Second day, we had 10 orders. By the 4th day, we had 40 orders. I'm like, okay, now it's rolling. And then we were like, let's try other suburbs. And then we did the west. And then my staff called me. He goes, hey, we have to stop taking orders. I go, what happened? We've got 160 orders for the west. I'm like, oh, shit, we need to have more drivers, more people. And then we're very lucky. As I said, we went through that survival mode. And another lucky thing was I was actually able to keep my whole team employed during that time. So my team got stronger because we went through COVID together. No one had less paid because they were still working, and it was just you couldn't eat at the shop. So we got through the first one, and I think that's why the second one for us was not the hard part. Okay, we're back to this again. So very, very, very lucky, because during that time, Chinatown has lost a lot of restaurants, a lot of big brands, a lot of businesses. So we're very, very, very grateful that we went past this, especially with a brand new restaurant. You know, we're not an existing brand. We don't have experience. So that was when our team grew together and bonded. So now it's 3 years, and we're opening our 3rd shop in Eastwood. We are franchising. We're going to Melbourne. We're going to Brisbane. We've just opened our central kitchen in Kogarah. We bought our own van, so we are growing pretty hard there, and it's fun.
So it's Kowloon. How you guys pivoted in during COVID was moving and shifting towards delivery base. And that's how you got it. And sourcing the drivers, I mean, growing that fast, from 5 to 40 within the next 3 days, and you change the suburbs and 160 now. How did you manage the friction of even hiring that many drivers or putting it out there?
We're very lucky. We have a lot of friends. So yeah, and during that time, there's a lot of people finding work as well. So it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard.
It wasn't.
And people were willing to drive. They're like, I want to get out of the house.
Yeah.
So if they start driving and delivering food for me, they can get out of the house, right? Remember, we have to write a letter.
Yeah.
You can't be out of your LGA and all that stuff. People were begging me to be a driver because they can actually get out of the house. Like they go, I haven't even turned on my car for like 3 weeks. So it was a good thing. Like people, firstly, people enjoying. It was back then. Necessity, basic stuff, walking out of the house was something that people actually wanted to do. So that's why it wasn't hard for me to find extra drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
it wasn't hard. But now it is. Right now it's bad timing.
Yeah.
Now it's just we can't find staff.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, opening a food location, you guys are doing a franchise now. That's a whole nother ball game as well.
Trying to.
Trying to, right?
Yeah, we're getting there. After the central kitchen, the most important part is just the consistency of the food and drinks.
Yeah, and sharing the quality because you have different managers on,
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
floor
yeah.
now,
That's
right?
that's the bad part, with especially staffing, as I said.
Yeah, yeah. Ni Hao Bar, I mean, Kowloon Café, crazy story how you even pivoted. Ni Hao Bar was, I mean, you were talking about laws of attraction before, like I wanted to do the cafe, I wanted to do the club, I wanted to do Ni Hao Bar. How did that come about? Because you mentioned that was previously a nightclub, right?
So Ni Hao Bar, previously in 2019, Marquee Singapore opened, and I was there for a few big nights. For the opening night, grand opening night, we flew 50 people there. After I went there, Tao Group that owns Marquee, their way of doing business in hospitality and restaurants amazed me. So they had a restaurant called Lavo, Italian restaurant, rooftop bar, very sexy venue. What happens is you see everyone dressed up and going there for dinner. And then around 10 p.m., there's a DJ. And once the DJ comes out, people start moving their furniture, tables on the side, creating their own dance floor for themselves. And there's crazy presentation for birthday cakes. You can order bottles, and it just becomes a party. So it's from a restaurant, and then the lights go dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Bang, it goes into a nightclub. I was like, wow, such a cool vibe. We never had anything in Sydney like that. So I was like, why don't we put a few things together? And then I started looking on YouTube, and I follow a few people. One guy's called David Grootman, and he's a promoter as well. And he's got the best restaurants in Miami. He's got the best nightclubs. And I just started following him and seeing his stuff. I'm like, wow, this is what I want. Because of my database, because of my background, because of my crowd and my following, this is what they want. And right after COVID, people want to be at a one-stop shop. They don't want to go to one place and go, hey guys, let's get your handbags and we're going to go to the nightclub. And then you'll lose one or two people. Or some guy didn't bring an ID, or someone's too drunk. Might as well just stay at one place, right? Pre-drinks, dinner, after drinks, after party. So I was like, let me have dinner and I'll have a nice vibe. Music is not too loud. 10 o'clock, I've live DJ. And then you can stay there, eat and drink. Obviously, my kitchen closes around 10:30. So, and the vibe, I never had a dance floor, but I just want people to stay in their area. And especially for COVID, during that time, you cannot dance. That gave me a great area to grow my business. No nightclubs, no karaoke's, and all the other bars are boring. My one's renovated, it looks sexy, it's got cool things happening. Got an outdoor courtyard you can smoke, and the outdoor courtyard you can stand.
Yeah.
And that was when we grew, like, we were like, oh my God, what can we do? What can we do? Because back then, at the beginning, my food was not up to the standard. So how am I going to attract people there? I've got great location, that's number one. On my left is Central, on my right is Town Hall Station. In front of me is Chinatown. So I have to use location as one of my key selling points. It took me 3 stages to finish my renovation, but every place, every wall that I have, even the toilets, it's an Instagrammable thing. I believe in renovations can make the whole place much better. So if your food's 6 out of 10, but you go there, the renovation and the presentation is great, it'll be 8 out of 10. So luckily my food's 8 out of 10. Now I've got that renovation. Hopefully it can be a 10 out of 10. So everything I use, from my glasses, chopsticks, and even presentations or whatever, I make it really fun. I have yum cha trolleys for bottles. I've got all these nightclub stuff that I have in my nightclub for bottle presentation. If you have a birthday, I'll give it to you. I'll give you a presentation. You don't have to spend $1,000.
Yeah.
I've got a live DJ there and a big area. And as I said, people started using my bar to be a meet-up place. Before you go to a club, before you go karaoke, or even before you go home. Okay, let's meet at Ni Hao Bar. And that's when, yeah, that's how it started. And we're very, very grateful that it's built to at this stage. Right now, it's 95% of what I wanted. Yeah, it's 95% of what I wanted. The food is doing amazing. We've got an amazing chef. And the drinks, I always like to make an affordable price. I hate to be too high class because marquee has always been the high class thing. And it's not affordable. Like, you can't go there and have 4 or 5 drinks. Not everyone can afford that. Uni students cannot afford that. But now they come to my one like, oh, okay, wow, your teapots comes out with like 10 drinks. And you've got $10 happy hour and all that stuff. So I want to make sure a night of experience is good, it needs to be affordable too. Because you don't want to be, oh, I had a great night last night. And oh, shit, I can't afford it next week.
You spent a bag.
So
Yeah.
that thing is very, very important because I've been there and done that. If I can only come out 1 week during my uni days, I'll be really sad, right? So
it reduces
so
customers for you.
you want to make sure good experience but affordable because that's long term.
And it's interesting how you say the renovation changes things up, and it kind of seems like everything is Instagrammable. You got like all this, it's from trolleys to the cutlery to how the place is laid out. I've been to
I have
Ni
a
Hao Bar, I've
bus
seen it,
in
right?
Kowloon Café.
Yeah,
I cut half a bus out
yeah,
as a bar, and people didn't believe us. And yeah, it worked. And people actually rather go to Burwood down because they want to see the bus. And my Eastwood one that's coming up, I've got a tram, double decker.
yeah.
So it's a real one. So I think renovation helped me a lot to make sure the whole vibe, you know, the experience is so different. And also I believe in presentation. Like, even for myself, everyone's like, you're crazy. I have an iPhone and I change iPhones every year because my phone I use it for everything. So, but every year I change it. They're like, fucking, you got 50 phone cases. I just like to make things nicer. And I just don't want to look at the same thing. So renovation will make people go, okay, cool. You're not coming to a boring old Chinese restaurant. There's something like the teapot thing was a great thing. Obviously, people have done it before, but my teapots are more expensive and looks better.
Yeah.
The old World Bar one is like the plain white ones, right? My one's got the old unique,
different patterns and
authentic
stuff as
patterns and all that. So now people talk about teapot, they talk about Ni Hao Bar.
Yeah.
So that was something that I'm really happy about. I was like, okay, cool. This is something that we've done right now. 10 years ago, people talk about World Bar, whatever. And now they talk about teapots, they talk about us.
And it gets people talking as well. Well, like,
Yeah, you need that.
You Instagram it, you spread it on your story. The place is nice.
Yeah.
It just intrigues people who are not even from Sydney sometimes, right? They're like, where's that place? We gotta go visit it. Like, let's go on a night out. So it definitely helps, when you're doing the renovation piece and everything's down to detail. So yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I mean, we talked about the ways that you pivoted as well, and we had a conversation on the phone the other day where I wanted to get your thoughts around Sydney culture itself. Where do you think? Because when we look at different cities around the world, right? When we go to New York, when we go to LA, when we go, friends have been to Europe. They're saying like in Asia specifically, nightlife is crazy over there. Like the city just doesn't sleep sometimes. But I feel like every time I go to Sydney, it's like,
Oh, it's the government.
right, it closes at 12 and that's it. Like nothing else. On a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Well, that was one of the
shit's
things
dead.
that actually benefited us during that time because OPM is situated in the casino.
Which is everyone has
And
to
we're
go
the only guys in New South Wales that can open
Yeah.
after locked out hours. So we got that benefit. So yeah, we ran with that benefit for 4 years, which closed down all the clubs, and we also have that due to that because, for example, even what's it called, Good Fridays we can open. Nowhere in Australia you can have nightclubs open on Good Friday. We're the only nightclub open in the whole of Australia because we've got a different license. Yeah, but yeah, Sydney culture has been changed a lot because of the tram, because of the lockout law, and people just don't want to spend that money now. When they come to Sydney, they go, "Why would I want to spend such big money?" But I'm not getting like
value.
When they talk about it, it's the Vegas experience, right? Bottle service, the bling bling stuff, and blah whatever. In Asia, you get that for quarter of the money you spend. That's why I love partying there as well. And in Sydney, you're paying a premium, but you're not nowhere getting. We can't even have a shot after 12.
Yeah.
You can't touch the bottle. It's like a criminal record that you touch the bottle. You get slapped, and then the security will go, "Last chance." Like, last chance of a bottle that I paid for. Like,
what do you mean by the trams? How's the trams?
The rail, yeah.
Yeah. How's that?
Because all the businesses got affected during that time. They had to shut down. You had people building these walls, and you can't walk. If you remember correctly, outside the cinemas and walking to Town Hall Station, you had to do a loop.
Yeah, to get around. Yeah.
Basically, the whole George Street was closed.
It fucks up the whole foot traffic as well.
I had a few friends that had restaurants that had closed down. People didn't want to go to the city. There's no parking. You can't even walk. What are you going to do? So people, yeah, and then obviously the COVID thing hit CBD first because we lost 70% of people because everyone used that work from home thing, you know? Like even now, my friend has a few restaurants in Barangaroo and it's cranking. But he goes, sometimes it's Monday, sometimes it's Tuesday. I go, why? Because people feel like coming to work. That's the day.
In the office, yeah.
Like, you don't even know what's going to happen. Friday, don't even think about it. There's no after-work drinks anymore.
Because everyone's working from home.
And now, Thursday's the new Friday.
Yeah.
Thursday's the new Friday because no one goes to work on Friday.
Yeah.
And then they can go out for a little bit. So, like, you don't even have stats to back your...
You can't even forecast.
You don't, yeah, to back your forecast, to back your plan.
Yeah.
So, normally we go, okay, Friday night work drinks. Before we were like, okay, cool. If we are weak in numbers, we can hit all the Friday night working crowd and give them a free entry or whatever. Can't even find them. So there's no Friday work drinks. Now you got Thursday, but they might not be out. But definitely they're not going to work tomorrow. So, yeah, it's just a very weird culture. Like Melbourne, the good thing about Melbourne is there's so many venues. In Sydney, that's why they're saying we're a nanny state. It's 100%. Like, there was a news like a month ago about a 4 a.m. license given to a venue. They made it so big of a news. Mate, in Asia, 4 a.m. is nothing.
Just standard over there.
You're making on the headline saying that, oh, okay, you guys your venue's going to get 4 a.m. license. What are you talking about? You know, people are laughing at us. Yeah. Your 4 a.m. license, like, seriously. And obviously, now the cross is now Potts Point. Potts Point is getting a lot more love back, but it still needs a lot of time and effort to build it back to what it is. If a city doesn't have its nightlife, then why are you coming? And Sydney is one of the biggest tourist countries, right? But not everyone likes to go to the zoo and opera houses, right? At night, they need to go somewhere. And then you've got all these casinos having all these rules, trying to protect people from gambling. Might as well just give them the license, right?
Yeah.
All these rules are just stupid. Like, all these new rules that I heard is just stupid. You can't do this, you can't do that. You have to have 2 IDs.
Yeah, 2 IDs.
To go in. Right now, New South Wales government are the ones that told us to that you can use your wallet, right?
Yeah.
And then now they go, nah, you have to have another proof of ID. I'm like, fuck, I've got Apple Pay. Nah, I can't.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like all these rules, they make all these rules, and yeah, I don't know. It's just they're making everything really tough, especially for small businesses and especially for the nightlife. So, like, I've known so many promoters that like they're in corporate now. Normally, is they go from corporate to
To
a
nightlife.
promoter,
Promoter.
and then they have their businesses or whatever. Now they're going back to a 9 to 5 job.
It's crazy how the government has it so backwards, because if you actually open it up, you see your economy grow. You see consumers spending more. You see there's more opportunities. People are more employed. It creates a whole city nightlife where then it attracts tourism to come in as well.
Yeah,
But
that's what they don't know what they're trying to get everyone just to go to the morning activities.
it's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Man. So what do you think that has to happen then for Sydney culture to improve if you were to run?
Oh, the government needs to change everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to be. They need to stick to what they say. Like they said that they want a 24-hour city. What is a 24-hour city if your businesses have to close at 2 o'clock? Doesn't make sense, right? You need to make sense with your agenda. If you want a 24-hour city, you need to have 24-hour running businesses, which I don't see a 24-hour running business in Australia or Sydney right now. So what's a 24-hour city? They need to give venues more lenient with licensing. You can't get licensed. How, like, you go to a venue that are like, I want to build a nightclub here. We've been shopping. And every time when I speak to the agent, yeah, we can start doing it and you can start signing a lease after DA's approved. I'm like, what does that mean? Basically, you have to pay a big chunk of money to see if the government lets you a proposed business that you think it might work, and you might lose that money as well if they say no. So, and then why don't you, the owner does? Oh, the owner doesn't want to do it because we don't know if it's going to work. So no one's doing that DA. Everyone is saying that, yep, it might be. And then sometimes they go, yep, you can open, but your license is until 1. If you run it for another year, and then you get good credibility, you can open till whatever time. I'm like, by the time I get granted, my business will be down. You know, it's stupid. All these rules are just dumb. They just don't want people to open businesses. Like they were giving grants out, but the grants is nothing. You know, like if you go on George Street right now, you see so many empty shops, so many, especially Chinatown. So if they don't do that, and then now you've got everything going up, the interest rate going up, inflation, you've got vegetables selling for like triple the price. It's just like too hard to run a business. I went to a Vietnamese bread roll and I asked for extra coriander. She kept saying no. I go, why? I go, I can pay more. Okay, $1. And she gave me one little piece. So that's how crazy inflation is right now. People are not, like, everything is very expensive. And if you don't, and then if the government just doesn't step in to help businesses or small businesses, the only ones that are surviving are the big ones.
Yeah, and it just kind of breaks opportunity. I feel like yeah, like if you make it more attractive for people to come out and making licenses easier, nightlife easier,
Yeah.
consumer spending goes up and businesses get to stay alive and to mitigate against inflation as well.
I think that they were trying to do that free train, tramp, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, might as well. No one's using it, you know.
No one's in the city, man.
At least you have to try having a full house in it, you know.
Yeah. Well, look, and how look, we're almost coming to time, man. But what's next for you? I mean, Senpai you mentioned was with the executive chef.
Oh, Chase, yeah, Chase is amazing chef, and to be honest, he's the first chef that actually has the same vision as me, because before I hired really amazing chefs, but when the marketing goes a bit quirky, they just go nuts and go, what are you doing? You can't use that. You can't say that. Like, I had an amazing chef, and he made amazing hand-cut fries, chips. It was so good. Everyone was asking for it. And then we're like, okay, cool. At least someone is coming for something. And then after 5 orders, he goes, it's sold out. I'm like, what? It's sold out because it's hand cut. I'm like, okay, how can we make more? Can't.
It's hand cut.
I'm like, limited edition. I was like, okay, cool. Then I'm like, with Chase, I can do a lot of things. He believes in marketing. He believes in my vision. We were talking business. I think once a chef becomes the owner, they will know what the owners are thinking. Chefs and DJs have become a celebrity job the last 10 years. No one cares about DJs and chefs 10 years ago. This guy just pressed play and this guy's just cooking, right? But now people have personality. There's more TV shows about it. Chef is getting a lot more, I have to say, they have a lot more attitude than before. And they're becoming an artist, especially the bigger ones. But they need to adapt and understand what are the sellers. A lot of chefs go, oh, he's done it before, I'm not going to do it. Mate, it's selling. We have to follow the trend.
Yeah.
Yes, you can create. How many people have created hamburgers, right? Can't. Oh, he's copying me, man. Fucking, there's still hundreds of new brands opening. Fried chicken. There's still so many brands opening. You can't say you're Kentucky forever, right?
Yeah.
So you have to adapt. And then you have to understand. The chefs don't understand how much wages are. Like, this is what from one of my mentors. He goes, when a customer pays $100 to you, how much does the owner actually get? All the front of house staff is like, oh yeah, $50. Some that has a brain will go, $30, $40. Right now, we're sitting on 10% profit. Yeah. Maybe less. I'll calculate it for you. Cost of goods is 30 to 35%. You got 30% to 40% wages. And you got tax. You got wages. Electricity. Marketing. Actually, I'm losing. People don't understand. That $100 coming through doesn't mean I get $100. So once that got me kicked in when he was telling me, when he was teaching my staff. Because he was teaching them not to waste. Because wastage is a big thing as well. Wastage comes to around 5% sometimes. Especially when you're pouring stuff, and like especially food and all that. People don't know how much you actually make, especially in F&B right now. You're looking around 10%, or maybe less.
Food and beverage.
Yeah. So hospitality. Yeah. You won't know how much drinks. Cool, you got a bigger percentage, but food, the wastage, then that's gone. You know, especially Japanese restaurant. Everything has to be fresh. So that's why when I said I clicked with Chase is because he became an entrepreneur. He became an owner. He understands when we're not making money, we have to get it from our own pocket. Okay, cool. How are we going to make money? You know, everything's money. So he understands that part. That's why when we started talking, he knows that from my marketing and his food, and then we've got the same vision, that equation is going to be a green light. So we're really, 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 really excited about our next venture. It's going to be a never seen before kind of a restaurant in Sydney. Yeah. It's going to be very fun, very loud. People beg to get a seat there for sure. We'll have omakase as well. We have a lot of cool things happening.
Any possible locations yet? Or?
Yeah, we got it already.
Yeah, you got it?
Yeah. CBD. Wynyard. So, prime location, sexy venue. It's already half done, so. Yeah,
nice, man. And then TenX, man. I mean,
hopefully it's TenX. Now, one of the reasons why I call it TenX, it's really funny. It's 163 Oxford Street.
Yeah, there you go.
So 1 + 6 + 3 is 10 as well. And then we're like, okay, let's play a bit of other quirky stuff just to have a little bit more meaning. So, but yeah, it's a very sexy venue. Like, it reminds me of Hong Kong nightclubs. It's between a nightclub called Vola and Play. So that's where I used to always go when I go back in Hong Kong. So very excited.
Is that what night is that every week?
Friday.
Friday nights.
Friday for 4 weeks, and then we'll give it a little break, and then we've got Art House coming for Embassy, which is going to be we have New Year's Eve there as well. So
Yeah. Art House is next to galleries, right?
next to Hilton Hotel.
Next to Hilton Hotel, that's it. Well, before we conclude, Howin, 2 pieces of advice to those that you can give, whoever wants to do hospitality or get into it.
Number one would be, you need to have a passion and love for food and drinks and people. I think that's, if you don't have it, like, if you don't have people skills, you're not socially awkward, just don't get into it unless you're a chef. That's a very different story. And secondly, right now, hospitality is not the best industry to be in. I think you need to have a talent, like, you need to learn, like, even in hospital, for me, I've never learned any skills in hospitality. But if you love it and you like it, study more about it. For example, people told me I don't like wine, but people are like, hey, you need to understand what's wine, and then you need to start looking into understanding the food. At least you can talk about it, right? So you look a little bit more of an expert. But yeah, you need to study. You need to study a little bit about it as well. But learning, the most important part, learning is from experience as well. So that's the most important part. And yeah, as I said, the most important part for me is just having a really good team and spreading the love and money. So then the team will stay with you.
Awesome. And how? Where can we find you on social media?
My Instagram's Howin Chui. I think even my Facebook's Howin Chui. So everything's and then I've got KowloonCafe.com.au, which is my Instagram. I've got Ni Hao Bar. I've got TenX.nightclub, Embassy.Sydney, and what else we've got? I've actually got a streetwear brand as well called Wannabe. So WANAB.com.au. But it's more based in China now, so that's another business.
Can't keep up with the adventures. But Howin, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.